Hello, hello, and welcome to the Intelligence Mod Pod. I am Bobby, and as always, I'm here to teach you everything I know about Dungeons and Dragons. And today, with me talking about sorcerers, I have Dane.
Hello.
Now, you're not a sorcerer normally, are you?
No, but I like to believe there's a little bit of magic in me somewhere.
A little bit. There's always that, distinct desire inside of all of us to just be special, just because we are who we are. Um, and I feel like that's what the sorcerer just kind of embodies. Everyone else works for it, and they just are like, it's me.
Yeah, when anyone is playing a fantasy game and, especially with D&D, it's like, do I want to be the book nerd over there, I need my spell book to cast spells, or do you just want to be like, phew, lightning bolt out of your hands? Because that's what the sorcerer is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I often enjoy. I think every time I've ever played a sorcerer, it's been like a noble because I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna be privileged with magic, I might as well be privileged in every other aspect of my character's life, just
Yeah.
to really rub it in people's faces. But yeah, sorcerer is great. They definitely are making fun of wizards at all times
hmm
because they're sitting over there with bags under their eyes, their fourth pot of coffee, and the sorcerers are waking up after a luxurious sleep, great morning routines, and they can do just as much. It's
Yeah,
really not fair.
exactly. And I do feel like, kind of like you mentioned, with being a noble background, I do feel like you can be a sorcerer and have any kind of background where
Yes.
magic just awakens in you for whatever reason, and go from there.
Yeah, I feel like so often in like movies and whatnot, we see like the hero that never thought they would be a hero, but something awakens in them. Sorcerer. That's what you
Yep,
are.
that is it.
So we're gonna jump into these sorcerers. They are gonna be a full caster, so if you are going to be looking at their spell list, they're gonna be getting the same spell progression as every other full caster. You can find those lists for sorcerers specifically if you're on the 2014 player handbook at page 100, and if you are in 2024, you can find that table on 140. We're going to reference it quite a bit today, so make sure you have that handy for you if you are wanting to follow along with that. But starting out, we are going to be starting out as a sorcerer with a d6 hit die, um, which means you're pretty much on the same progression with a wizard, but you're not getting memed nearly as much for being squishy for whatever reason. I don't know. You probably deserve it, but you don't. I think that's the biggest injustice of sorcerers versus wizards is that wizards are constantly memed for being low health, but sorcerers are the exact same thing.
Yeah. It's just the cool factor. That's like if for some reason it gives them extra HP. That's all. It's like just metaphorical HP. You get a little bit extra.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. With that though, your health at level 1 is going to be 6 plus your Constitution modifier. And every sorcerer level you take past that is going to be 1d6 plus your con mod plus or 4 plus your con mod. If you decide to take the average, you'll be taking that 4 plus con. Um, Again, you are going to be a squishy person. Do not think that you are going to be a tank without doing some crazy off meta building. Um, I believe in you if you want to try. I haven't done it, but I believe in you.
The blur mirror image draconic sorcerer with a heavy armored master feat.
Please, please do
Make it
this.
work.
Someone
Make
in the
it works.
comments, leave us down your build. I want to know. I want to see it, and I want to invite you to a one shot at some point. For weapons, these are going to differ between editions. Normally, we keep the differencing like after we talk about what they both get, but for this one, it's a minor thing. If you're in 2014 or 2014, my words, I'm obviously not a wizard today. I've been gifted everything because I can't talk. In the 14 edition, you get daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs, and light crossbows. Whereas in 2014, you are upgraded.
Yeah.
I cannot get these two.
2024.
24.
2024.
You're getting simple weapons, much like my brain today. It's a simple weapon. I didn't bring
Yeah.
intelligence to this one. I only brought charisma because as a wizard or as a sorcerer, that is going to be your spellcasting modifier. Is your charisma. It's all about you personally. Um, how do you feel about? I want to ask an interesting question. How
Yeah.
do you feel about sorcerers being charisma based?
It should be constitution based.
I have said this literally every time I feel like I ever talk about sorcerers. You know that scene in Lord of the Rings when Aragorn kicks the helmet and it's like people struggle not to bring up that he broke his foot? That's me
Yeah.
every time I talk about sorcerers. I'm like, they should be Constitution.
It really should.
They should.
It is like the prime description of their magic, where it comes from within, comes from, like even like Warlock and charisma is kind of like, okay, sure, just give it to him. But with the sorcerer, the magic comes from within. Your constitution is just that. It is your hardiness. It is your ability to survive, and that's where your magic should come from, with that inner strength that you have.
I mean, there's like one specific word that I think makes me feel like it should be sorcerer, and that's in every time you are reading about what a sorcerer is, they talk about your bloodline. This is your blood. Your blood is what gives you power.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
I feel like there are specific classes that should have more than one option for what their main stats are. I feel like sorcerer, I could see a charisma, but I also think you should have the option between charisma and constitution.
Yeah.
You know, like
I,
with go ahead, I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say like another one just kind of off the top of my head, like possibly, and this is more subclass based, but fighters break into a lot of different kind of categories for casting and things like that. Like Eldritch Knight, I feel should not be intelligence based, because that's kind of, I don't know if they in their lore and once again we'll touch upon this when we talk about subclasses, but like I don't feel like they're book learning for all this kind of stuff, or maybe they are, I don't
I
know.
think they are. I don't know though. I think for me the quickest one I can think of as another example would be the warlock that you brought up. Like, yeah, charisma I could see, but I feel like intelligence could also, because you have to have the knowledge on how to summon these demons. You have to have the knowledge on how to, form a good contract. I could see
Yeah,
that.
I could also see like for paladins probably too, right? Like they're devout faith in some way. Like it just like charisma doesn't like tie into it that well, I
I
feel.
feel like wisdom
Whether
would be a better, ties in with clerics. I don't know. I feel like we
Yeah.
are spiraling heavily away from the sorcerer at the moment.
Let's get back on track. Back on track.
But speaking of the choice of charisma and constitution, those are going to be your saving throws. So you do have proficiency in saving throws for constitution and charisma, which I do think does give you a little bit more beefiness than what the wizard has. Because that con save is going to save your life at least 37 times.
Yeah, important for like maintaining concentration and just a absolute plethora of saving throws in the game.
Yeah. Armor though, you're getting none. You get nothing. You better mage armor or you better dragon soul if you want a higher AC. Um, and skills, we're getting a lovely 2 choices out of Arcana, Deception, Insight, Intimidation, Persuasion, and Religion. I think this is just an okay list.
Yeah, and I mean, it's almost like you kind of default to one of the social skills, where whether it's deception, intimidation, persuasion, like you kind of pick one or two of those depending on what your character is going to be. And then the other ones are more so for flavor, because like Arcana and Religion are intelligence based, which is probably not going to be a good stat for your sorcerer, depending on how you roll or point by or standard array. And
And
then
insight being
insight.
wisdom. Are we
Yeah.
taking wisdom as a sorcerer? I don't
I mean,
know.
yeah, I would probably, if I was picking and choosing, like intelligence would probably be my lower
Dump.
one, and then like wisdom, like middle
Wisdom's
of
the
the pack.
10. Wisdom's
Yeah,
the
wisdom's
10.
the 10, possibly the 12. Strength's probably not that high.
Oh yeah, strength. I forgot. Actually, strength is gonna be my dump. I totally lied. Int is gonna be the 10. Wisdom will be the 12. If
You
you're
want a
going with
little,
standard array.
you do want some dexterity for either make mage armor a little bit better, or as you mentioned, draconic sorcerer. they get a little extra. They get like a free mage armor
Mm-hmm.
basically just from their innate bloodline. But you mentioned, some of the roles that are available, that you can play a sorcerer as the face of the group. That
Mm-hmm.
primary charisma stat just kind of lines you up for something like that. Of course, the blaster type, lots of powerful spells out here, controlling or support, and the support can come with the subclass choice that
Mm-hmm.
you end up going with.
Yeah, I think it's important for a lot of people to know that like controller and support roles, if you have magic, you can slide into that spot. Are you going to be as good as like a bard or a cleric or a druid? Probably not without a good subclass, but you can still do it. There are so many great spells out there that can just lock someone down for the rest of your party to just come over and beat them with pool sticks.
Yeah,
And when it comes to supporting, there are tons of ways as a sorcerer that you can elevate your allies' abilities.
yeah. It's not
Um,
all about just blowing stuff up, even though that's fun.
but if you do want to be a blaster and just blow things up, you are really good at it. Um,
Hmm.
and to do so, again, your spellcasting modifier will be charisma, and your attack mods to hit. So this is your 2 hit modifier is going to be your proficiency plus your charisma modifier. So you do want that charisma up there quite a bit. One, if you're going to be a face or a blaster, um, and two, because then you get to hit things more. And your spell
Hmm.
save DC is going to be 8 plus your proficiency modifier plus charisma mod. And again, the proficiency modifier can be found on that chart along with the rest of the sorcerer informations on pages 100 or 140, depending on which edition you are looking at. Um, Unlike the wizard, however, you are, well, kind of like them. You are a learned spellcaster, but unlike the wizard, you are not any bit of a prepared spellcaster. You know what you know, and that's it. You don't get to dabble in little extras. You get a new spell every level, essentially, but that's all you're getting is you get that little bit and you don't get to dabble from wizards. So when it comes to spells, you are going to be a little bit more limited than a lot of the other spellcasters in terms of versatility. However, sorcerers make up for spells with different forms of versatility, which we're going to get into once we get to about that level 2, level 3 area of each of these. Um, so I guess we should jump
So,
over to 2014.
yeah, before we go to that though, I just wanted to clarify. So, a lot of the classes are like you can take a long rest, right,
Mm-hmm.
and swap some spells around, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So, sorcerer cannot do that. Womp womp.
No, no, they are not prepared. So a lot like a bard, that's something that they share in common with bards. Maybe it's just a charisma caster thing. I don't know, because warlocks can't do it either. I'm
Yeah,
just now
yeah, you're
making
right.
this correlation.
You're stuck. You're stuck if you're a
Charisma,
charisma caster.
you know what you know. You are what you are, and you don't get to be more, I guess.
Yep.
So 2014, if you're going to follow along with us on this, you're going to be starting on page 99 is where the first little descriptors are, but all of the features are going to be a little bit farther back at the 100 and onward area. So you get a couple selections to start your equipment with. The first one being a light crossbow and 20 bolts or any simple weapon. I don't think I've ever seen a sorcerer take a light crossbow, but I guess you could.
I
If
think
that.
when you get to 2024, I think it's will become a lot more of a mainstay for a lot of people because of the differences with the True Strike cantrip.
Yeah.
They definitely like buff that up to make
Mm-hmm.
it, more accessible and use, weapons and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
with it.
Um, you can take a component pouch or an arcane focus. And one thing that you had said that, wizards need a book and sorcerers just do it. No, they do have to have either the components or an arcane focus of some kind. An arcane focus, though, can be a necklace, so it is easier to carry around.
Hmm.
Um, but we still do need one of those things. A Dungeoneering's pack or an Explorer's pack. This, honestly, either one is going to be great for you. They're both great pouches with great items in them, and 2 daggers. Why not?
Can't go wrong. Can't go
Can't.
wrong. You
Daggers are
need
great.
You
I
need that
guess,
close range option if you don't take Shocking Grasp for some reason.
for some reason. Then at level 1, we're getting our subclass if you're in 2014. This is great. You know exactly who you are right from the beginning. Um, Again, we're going to be going over subclasses once all of the base classes are done, and we will tell you about the amazing sorcerer subclasses, because I think they have some of the most flavorful subclasses out of anyone. I think them and druids probably rival for the best flavored, maybe even warlock subclasses.
Yeah.
Um, Not necessarily mechanically, but flavor wise, yes.
And then at second level,
Mm-hmm.
we get truly the probably the main reason why a lot of people take this subclass. Well, maybe not the main reason, but like it's a big chunk
Mm-hmm.
of this subclass, which is Font of Magic, which at second level allows you to tap into a deep wellspring of magic within yourself. And this wellspring is represented by sorcery points, which allow you to create a variety of magical effects. So when you hit level 2, you start off with 2 sorcery points, and you gain more as you reach higher levels. And there is a sorcery point kind of table in the DMG, and that's on page 100,
Mm-hmm.
page 140 for the 2024 edition. You can never have any more sorcery points than shown on the table for your level, and you regain all spent sorcery points when you finish a long rest.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And an easy way to remember this is your sorcery points are always going to line up with your sorcerer level. Once you get them at level 2, you're going to be handed 2, and then they will go up by 1 every single time you level up in sorcerer. So if you're cross-classing, you're going to be a little bit more wonky. But if you stay nice and true to that sorcerer bloodline, it should stick with you all the way through up until level 20, where you have 20.
mhm. And one of the very cool things that you get to do with these sorcery points is you get a lot of flexibility in your casting. So you can use your sorcery points to gain an additional or to gain additional spell slots back, or you can sacrifice the spell slots that you have to gain additional sorcery points. And you will also learn how to use your sorcery points in other ways, and we're going to talk about that very, very soon. But for creating those spell slots, you can transform those unexpended sorcery points into one spell slot as a bonus action on your turn. And there is a table that shows you the cost of creating a spell slot, and you cannot create. Oh, sorry, you can create spell slots, but none of them can be higher than level 5. So you can't make like a ninth level spell slot from your sorcery points.
Mm-hmm. Which is
Uh,
unfortunate, but totally reasonable.
Yeah, exactly. So just as a quick kind of how the math works, basically. So if you want to create a first level spell slot out of your sorcery points, it's going to cost 2 sorcery points to make one first level spell slot. And then it kind of just progresses up from there. So if you want to create a second level spell slot, you're going to have to use 3 sorcery points. And this is where it kind of starts, then it ramps up another level. So if you want to make a third level spell, you have to burn 5 sorcery points. A big, big investment. But as we all know, third level spells are the best spells for the most part.
Yeah.
And then fourth level spell, you need to burn 6 sorcery points. And then a fifth level spell, you need to burn 7 sorcery points. So big investment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is it worth it? Could be, depending on the situation. Um, so just keep in mind that there is a cost, and you don't get those sorcery points back until a long rest.
Mm-hmm. About this time, if you are looking for a commonly banned cross class to do that works really well with this specific thing, there's this lovely thing called the coffee lock. You should look it up. Odds are your DM will not let you play it, but it's fun to have in your back pocket just in case it does slip by. It's great for one shots, but I would not recommend playing it for a long period because it just gets annoying.
Yeah,
Just being
yeah. It's just
honest.
it's so much like micromanaging that you have to do as a player just to
Mm-hmm.
exploit a thing that
Yeah,
it takes the fun out of the game when you're just micromanaging that much.
yeah, it's bad.
So you can create the spell slots
Mhm.
with the sorcery points, but you can also do the opposite. You can get you can get sorcery points back by using a spell slot.
Yeah, which right now at level
So
2 isn't going to help us a whole lot.
no.
Because we don't have anything to use our sorcery points on. But once we hit level 3, we are getting the cream of the crop. This is what we're going to spend the majority of this video talking about. Because much like wizards, once you hit that one ability, it doesn't really get better from there. And that's meta magic. So, meta magic, what it is it allows you to augment all of your magic spells in different various ways. Now, when you first hit level 3, you're going to be getting 2 of these meta magics. Did you hold up a 2? I thought
A
you held
2.
up a 3 for a second, and I was like, oh god, did I just say that? Yeah, 2 of them of your choice. And you can only use one meta magic option on each spell unless it's otherwise noted that you can use multiple. So to start the list off, we have Careful Spell. This is a great one that only gets better with 2024. But back here in 2014, when you cast a spell that forces a creature to make a saving throw, you can protect some of the creatures in the spell's radius. You can expend 1 sorcery point and choose a number of creatures up to your charisma modifier with a minimum of 1. And those creatures automatically succeed the saving throw against the spell. So throw in that fireball and you see that your fighter is in there. Pop 1 sorcery point and he auto-magically saves from that saving throw. He's still going to take that half damage though, but it's better than taking full.
Mm-hmm.
And our next one is Distance Spell. When you cast a spell with a range of 5 feet or greater, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double the range of that spell. Or when you cast a spell that has a range of touch, you can spend 1 sorcery point to make that spell up to 30 feet. This is a really great one that I adore. I love using this. Distant is one of the 2 that I usually pick when I am picking mine.
Okay.
No, it's
And do
not. I
you?
lied to you. No, it's not. It's my number
Oh,
3 choice.
okay.
It's
I was
my
gonna say
number 3.
which one of those kind of selections for your spell do you typically use? Is it the one that's like a touch that you
I
can
use the
extend
touch one,
out?
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I
I
feel like that
also
makes more sense, but
want to point out, whenever I come into these, I come in from a support mindset, right? That's just the kind of player I am. So it's no surprise that if I'm playing a sorcerer, I'm going to be a divine soul or a clockwork soul, which means that I will be popping out Cure Wounds. And now my Cure Wounds has a 30 feet range versus touch.
mm-hmm.
That's usually where my distance spell is going.
Yeah, because in most games, typically majority of spells, cantrips, 60 to 120 feet
Mm-hmm.
usually. So you can move. If you're
Mm-hmm.
like stuck in place and someone's really far away, then that niche time it might be used that first kind of section. But I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think the touch option, extending that touch range, is probably the prime usage of this
Mm-hmm.
meta magic.
I agree, and I mean that's the part of it I feel like I use the most because a lot of really great support spells are going to be touch,
Yeah,
and this
and
lets you shoot away. This is also why I
yeah,
use familiars so much because I can cast it from a
free
familiar.
free distance distance spell. Um, so if do you have an example of when you've used that first section of the distance spell description, right in the comments below. Let us know.
Oh, I thought you were gonna ask me. I was like, oh
No,
god, no, I don't. I don't know. I don't really use it. I've
you're a
seen
support. I'm not.
I have seen, okay, let me tell you, this is more cross-classing, but I have seen, or if you get it with a feat, getting Eldritch Blast, and then,
Mhm.
which has a good distance, and then I've seen people with one of the invocations makes it like a double range, so
Yeah,
it's like 120, and then you use Distance Spell on it to make
yeah,
it 240 feet range.
yeah.
Excellent usage. That dragon that's
Uh,
harassing you like 200 feet in the air, pew, shoot him down.
yeah.
Don't
You
take
know,
their thing.
I had an idea for like I was going to be playing in like a naval kind of campaign, a lot of like sea travel and stuff like that, going to different islands. And so I was going to play a warlock, and I was like, how can I make this warlock, useful
Mm-hmm.
in these kind of situations? So I I picked up kind of like outside of the distance spell. There's a feat called Spell Sniper, which extends the range by like it's like 300 feet or something
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. And I was like, well, this would be perfect if I see an enemy ship 300 feet away. I can shoot it multiple times without it trying to hit me.
Yeah, and let me tell you, with distance spell, adding that 300 feet, there are going to be DMs that tell you that that counts as the same thing as distance spell, so you can't stack them. But rules is
At so-
written, you
at some
can.
point, you got to be able to see what you're shooting.
I have, in fact, seen the 400-foot firebolt, and it's
that's
juicy.
that's speck on the horizon over there. It's like you
It's
cannot target a small creature 400 feet away. You cannot see it.
if you are taking distance spell and you don't take spell sniper, you're doing yourself a disservice because at some point you're going to want to do a 400-foot spell sniper. And even if your DM only allows it once, it is worth it. Even if they're like, you know what, it can happen this time, but not again, because I didn't
Yeah.
specifically say it couldn't, it will be worth taking an entire feat for that one time because it's so funny.
Yeah. Yeah, you're basically the artillery unit firing from with the trebuchets just in the background.
Yeah.
So our next meta magic is empowered spell. So when you roll damage for a spell, you can spend one sorcery point to re-roll a number of the damage dice up to your charisma modifier, but you must use the new rules. Another little section of the empowered spell is you can use the empowered spell even if you've already used a different meta magic option during the casting of this spell. So kind of like Bobby touched upon at the beginning, this is one of those meta magics that has specific verbiage that allows you to combine it with something else. So
Mm-hmm.
if you roll all those ones on that fireball, you can re-roll all those things again. Now, here's a question for you, Master DM.
Mm-hmm.
Would you make your player use this before they cast the spell?
No. No. This is no, because you don't roll damage until after it's hit.
Well, yeah, deck save, right? So you see how much damage happens, right? And then you just kind of say
Yeah, this is
empowered.
yeah, because this is when you roll the damage. So it's when you're rolling.
Okay.
And I feel like saves normally happen before damage gets rolled. That you might run into a DM or two that does the saves and doesn't tell you. But I mean that it is what it is. You're still gonna know what your damage is
Mm-hmm.
before you use this. This is that oh
Yeah.
shit, I rolled nothing but ones. Um, my favorite thing I enjoy with Empowered Spell is combining it. If you pick a niche for your sorcerer, pick an elemental niche. Say you only want to do fire and get elemental adept for
Mm-hmm.
fire, then you can't roll ones. Then no matter what, if you get twos, you can still re-roll those without the fear of your two becoming a one.
Oh, okay, nice little stacking there, and then we can just combine that with distance spell and really just lob a fireball from 300 feet away.
From downtown, you are just this awful artillery unit. Find yourself a Drake Warden Ranger who can carry you around on their dragon up in the sky and just lob it down because no one will be able to hit you.
And then our next is meta magic is extended spell. So when you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend one sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum duration of 24 hours. Now, is making a spell that's 1 minute long into 2 minutes really worth it? Probably not. Something that lasts 8 hours into 16 hours, yeah, a little bit more play possibly.
I
Um,
don't like this one. I'm going to be honest with you. I
there's not
wish.
much usage for it.
No, I wish that 24-hour usage was not there. Even if it was like you could spend 2 points to then make it, anything past 24 hours. Because I feel like the ones that you really want to use this for are going to be things that already last a good amount of time. I'm
Hmm.
thinking like planar binding or I don't know. That's the first thing that came to my mind because of things. But
Well, I was looking at like our certain spells that influence people. You know,
mhm,
charm person, suggestion's already an 8 hour. Like it lasts up to 8 hours. So if
mhm,
you really have to like talk to this person in the morning and then come back later in the evening, extending that spell duration would
mhm,
have some benefit to it. Charm person, if you need an extra hour to do whatever you're doing in game, that could be of benefit.
mhm.
Um, Maybe stuff like I don't know, possibly like haste, maybe like making haste last longer. But is haste is only 1 minute, but um, I believe.
I I'm just gonna be honest with you. I won't be taking this one.
Yeah, not the cream of the crop when you only have two options to pick.
No, it's. I think this is arguably the weakest meta magic, except for extremely niche situations. This is
Hmm.
honestly at the very bottom of my list.
Yeah.
Um, but not at the bottom of the list is Heightened Spell. When you cast a spell that forces a creature to make a saving throw to resist its effect, you can spend 3 sorcery points to give one target of the damage disadvantage on the first saving throw made against the spell. While not last on my list, I'm going to be honest with you. It's probably second last. Um,
It is especially
three
in
points.
20, 2014 edition. Yes, I
That's
agree.
hefty.
That's you can't even use it. Well, at what do you get? Third level, you have how many?
That's all
Two?
of your
You can't even use
sorcery.
it.
At third level, you have
Or
3. So that is
oh, okay.
every single sorcery point you have at third level.
Yeah, and
No.
there's not even like good second like I mean outside of like hoping that your suggestion, your charm person, your thing that you really need to get off activates. um
I
that's a
wish.
hefty investment
I wish it, instead of imposing disadvantage, it just raised your spell save DC.
for like that specific spell.
Yeah, like if I'm using Heightened Spell, 3 sorcery points for 3 additional points of difficulty. I think that would be a fair trade. Because generally
Yeah,
you're sitting at like a 14. That makes your DC at level 3 like a 17. I think that's a fair trade. I would pay
yeah,
that for
yeah.
that. I would use it then. But I
I
don't
agree.
like that it's
Yeah, I
only
think
one person for only one of the saves.
right.
Stupid. I don't like that.
Yeah, in the 2024 we'll talk about it. They just reduce it by like one sorcery point cost.
Hmm. Yeah, we will get to
Um,
those once we get there, just so we
mhm,
don't keep jumping back and forth.
yeah.
But after that one, we do get to pretty much everyone's number one. This is what almost everyone is taking. It is the cream of the crop. It's the best thing you could possibly imagine in a meta magic, and that's Quicken Spell. When you cast a spell that has a cast time of 1 action, you can spend 2 sorcery points to change the cast time to a bonus action instead. Now, after everything I've just said, I want to clarify something that's going to take it out of most of your number one. This does not mean you can cast another spell at a second action, because the spellcasting rules state that you can only cast one leveled spell per turn. So everyone takes this thinking they're going to fireball as a bonus action and then fireball again as an action. No, no. That's not how this works. Um, it's amazing. This is a great, 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 great meta magic. And honestly, even with that caveat, it still hits in the top 3. But don't go into this thinking it gives you an extra action, because it doesn't.
Hmm. So like, how would one utilize this as an example?
This is going to be utilized when you throw the fireball and then you follow it up with a cantrip that is a full action. This is Firebolt, Fireball.
Hmm.
This is, um, I need to cast Revivify as a bonus action, or and then do a full action to actually do something else to get them out of the fray. This is, I want to do some damage, but I also want to cast, Bless if I'm a Divine Soul. So let me cast Bless as a bonus action instead of full action, and then still get to do something with my action.
Hmm. Yeah, very, very useful. Even just like, doing something with your action doesn't mean just magic or cast a spell. It could be feed that down person a potion or something like that, right? Like lots of options you can go with. All right, so our next meta magic is subtle spell. When you cast a spell, you can spend one sorcery point to cast it without any somatic or verbal components. Now, for this one, I feel like nobody takes it because nobody really enforces verbal, like how verbal casting works in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like uh, when you are casting a magic spell, you are speaking the magic into the world.
Hmm.
You can't just be whispering it all the time. You
Yeah.
have to it's very much like I once again you brought up Lord of the Rings. Now it's all I'm thinking about. Like Gandalf casting a spell. Like when he's intimidating Bilbo Baggins, like in the
Hmm.
first Lord of the Rings movie, he's like
Prestidigitation.
the voice gets all deeper,
Thaumaturgy.
the room
Yeah.
the room gets darker. Like that's kind of what I imagine when someone's casting a spell. They have to say the words out loud and they have to make the gestures, because if you don't do that, this has no bearing in any game at all.
Hmm.
Like a lot of people are try to get away with, I want to just
I
I'm
want to
just
whisper
whispering
the
this.
spell.
Yeah, it's like,
No.
no, you got to be like, I command you to do this. Like that's command. You can't just, if you had subtle spell, you can just whisper that, and then they just drop to the ground. Like who did this? That's the point of this spell. It's to do it subtly, as the as the meta magic name implies.
Hmm.
Um,
In the verbal components, I wanted to look up exactly what it says verbal components are for the 2014. It says most spells require the chanting of mystic words. The words themselves aren't the source of the spell's power, rather the particular combination of sound with specific pitch and resonance. So there has to be a specific tone and a specific volume in which you are making this spell happen. Um, and yeah, like you said, something that I struggle with my players all the time is why can't I whisper it? And it's like, well, because we have subtle spell, and then if you're a rogue playing arcane trickster, you also get this, and it just makes that completely useless. It takes away someone else's ability and just gives it to you for free, and that's not how
yeah.
it works.
And what sounds cooler if you yell out fireball and or you just fireball.
I mean, can you
Ah.
imagine Gandalf? You shall not pass. Like, no! Yell it! This is
Yeah.
power. This is magic. This is raw arcane energy that you are a conduit through. Use
Hmm.
it. This is power, and power is not soft and quiet.
Yeah. And DMs don't let your players get away with it.
No, no. Normally I'm on the player's side, but this time, do not let them get away with it. Tell them they have to speak it at a normal volume, or don't cast your spell.
Yep, exactly. All right, and then next, probably one of the other top meta magics for
Mm-hmm.
the 2014 edition is twinned spells. So when you cast a spell that targets only one creature and doesn't have a range of self, you can spend a number of sorcery points equal to the spell's level to target a second creature in range with the same spell. So it does cost one sorcery point if the spell is a cantrip. So if you want to twin two fire bolts, you got to spend one sorcery point. So to be eligible for this spell, or so for this meta magic, a spell must be incapable of targeting more than one creature at the spell's current level. So, for example, Magic Missile and Scorching Ray are not eligible because they already can target multiple targets.
Mm-hmm.
But Ray of Frost and Chromatic Orb, which only target a single target, are able to be twinned so that it can now, hit two targets. And I believe we've talked about, this has come up a couple of times in whether it's our game or other people's tables. One roll for the hit, right? Just one roll for both,
Yeah,
or is it
it's
two separate?
no. It is one roll to hit. It is one roll for damage because they are twinned. They are the same. They are twins.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a, Scorching Ray, as an example, is, for each beam, you roll the hit. Eldritch Blast, when you get to level 5 and it splits off into two, you roll for each individual
Mm-hmm.
beam.
I was
Um,
actually going to bring up Eldritch Blast because right now, at where we are level 3, we can use this with Eldritch Blast. But the moment we hit level 5, we can no longer use Twin Spell on Eldritch Blast because it changes how it targets.
mhm. So yeah, you can get that multi-classed Eldritch Blasting up until level 5, at least.
Mm-hmm. So, but if Eldritch Blast is your gimmick, just remember you have invocations, you have spell sniper, and you have distant spell to give you a better gimmick than twinning. So you can still do crazy stuff with your Eldritch Blast. Up next, I have our optional meta magics. So if you are following along in the player handbook, these are not going to be in there. I want to say these are in Tasha's, but I forgot to look which book exactly they came from. It's either Tasha's or Xanathar's. I believe it's Tasha, though. So ask your DM if you can use these. They might have the book, or if you purchase the book, then you will have these right in front of you. The first one is Seeking Spell. So if you make an attack roll for a spell and miss, you can spend 2 sorcery points to re-roll that d20, and you must use the new roll. So this isn't like, oh, I'm going to give myself advantage. This is, after you miss, you can re-roll it. Almost imagine if you think about, like, when you've seen, like, a spell in, like, a show or whatnot miss someone and then, like, recurve itself. That's what this is doing. It is changing its trajectory because it's already missed once. You can use Seeking Spell even if you have already used a different meta magic option during the casting of this spell. So, Distant Spell, Seeking Spell, Spell Sniper, all the other stuff, and then once it hits, you know what you're going to do after that? Not this early, but once you're a higher level, you're also going to use Empowered Spell. We're going to put as much meta magic as we can on one spell.
Just all 3 at once.
Yeah. Our next one is Transmute Spell. When you cast a spell that deals a damage type from the following list, you can spend 1 sorcery point to change the damage type to one that's also on the list. And that's Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, Poison, and Thunder. So these are your core elementals. Depending on your character, though, talk to your DM. I have never had an issue swapping out a couple of those for, like, Radiant or Necrotic. Just based on, like if I'm a divine character and I'm throwing a fireball, I want it to do radiant damage. I think that's a cool visual, and most DMs don't have an issue with that.
Yeah,
because
I mean, if you're changing something so you get the maximum amount of damage anyways, like, what's kind of the difference at the end of the day?
Yeah, I would say the biggest issue with Transmute Spell is, as a DM, and I know a lot of other DMs often do this, I will let my players change the elements of the spell permanently. You know, if I have an ice wizard or an ice sorcerer in this case, and they, want their fireball to be like an ice ball, I'm going to let them do that. So they don't need Transmute Spell to do that. It's just every time they cast it, it's ice. If they then want to take it to, if something's resistant or immune to ice and they need to change their fireball to something different, absolutely. But, like, coming from a pure flavor standpoint, talk to your DMs about certain spells. Are they going to let you do every single elemental spell? No, because then all you have to do is take Elemental Adept and everything you do is ridiculous. But most will allow a good amount of your spells to be changed into different elements based on your character.
Or just be a scribe wizard.
Or just be a scribe wizard and do all the elements anyway. I mean, I think the biggest, way I can, if you want to see that in action, come over to our streams on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central, and watch Morroway. Almost all of... I'm a wildfire druid, but almost all of my fire spells are lightning.
Yeah, and the same thing with Ados. He, his fire bolt has been reflavored into, what do we call it? Lightning Jolt or something
lightning
like that. Static Sparks or something. I don't know. But just for the flavor purposes, because he wants, you two are the lightning boys over there.
I can't wait to get, Elemental Bane. That's gonna be so much fun. Just lightning, and then both of us just
Yeah.
lighting people up.
So that's all the fun stuff with Sorcerer. Now it's kind of all the boring level progression
Yeah.
stuff. At level 4, you get your ASI or a feat. Now, with majority of full casters, probably a feat is going to be your go-to option at this stage at the very least. Absolutely a ton of options to go with, honestly. Fey Touch, Shadow Touch are great ones. Elemental Adept, as you mentioned. But a big one is Meta Magic Adept, which is a feat itself, which essentially just gives you, I believe, 2 sorcery points and 1 choice of meta magic.
Hmm.
So add that to your pool of ever expanding spell sorcery points.
Yeah. Yeah, that I would probably take Meta Magic Adept every time. Just because it's so useful and it gets you an extra meta magic choice and it gives you 2 extra points. There's no reason not to take it. It's great. It's so good. Um, After that, like 5th level, proficiency goes up to 3. 3rd level spell slots get access. Level 6, we're going to be getting a subclass feature. So this is when our subclasses are going to start really taking off. 7 and 8, you get 4th level spells and another ASI. There's really not a whole lot happening uh, until level 10, where we get another meta magic choice.
Yeah. And a lot of this is going to be, we obviously are getting more spells that are kind of building our repertoire. You can pad out your charisma to get it to 20 with the ASIs, or just continue to stack Meta Magic Adept, I guess. Just get unlimited amount of sorcerer points and just be. I don't know if you can stack. Can you
I
can
don't
you do?
know.
Can you
You
continue
said
to
that.
choose them?
You just said that, and my DM brain was like, you can't do that. And then my my rules lawyer was like, I don't think it specifically says you can't. But
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
All right, that's good because that would be very broken very fast. It's just you would never run out of you'd probably run out of sorcery points very quickly, but you would
You
just have a
cannot.
lot of options. And okay, so take those other features you already have proficiency with Constitution, so like you don't even need like resilient,
Mm-mm.
to pick Constitution. You can take like Warcaster, I guess, if you got if you want advantage on your
You could.
Constitution saves, sure. Um, you could take, I guess, the one of the armored stuff if you want some armor. I guess I don't know, but
I mean,
probably like the stuff that gives you free spells is probably what you want.
yeah. I mean, I think this right here is your perfect time to really fill out any gimmicks that you're trying to do with your character. I always say the best way to make a character that's going to feel impactful is have a gimmick. Have something that you are trying to get this character to be doing. And feats are a great way to kind of supplement and actually make them happen. So after we're done with subclasses, I think we're going to be going through feats and talking about all of them, so we can help you get a little bit better idea then. But at the back of your book, you should have a full list of feats, and if you're using D&D Beyond, they have them nicely listed out for you and make it pretty simple.
Oh, wait, geez, what level are we at? 7,
Uh,
8,
we were
9,
at 10, so now
10.
we're saying
It's
nothing currently.
ASI's proficiency bonus, ASI's subclass features, meta magic. Just
Yeah. We're
that's
not
it.
getting anything outside of ASIs and proficiency bonuses until about level 20, where we get Sorceress Restoration. At 20th level, you regain 4 expended sorcery points whenever you finish a short rest. This is so
and
bad.
and how many do you have at this point?
20.
Like 20?
20.
So you get like a fifth of them back.
I hate this. I wish it was like you got half of your total back. So even if you've only used like 5, you get 10 back, so now you're at 20 again.
a 2014 sorcerer has to feel real bad compared to like a 2024 monk who just gets their key points back absolutely every time they start a
Well,
fight.
it's funny you say that because once we get into 2024, you're gonna see how bad 2014 sorcerers feel about this. Because I'm pretty sure they took the capstone sorcerer ability and made it like a third or fourth level ability.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So overall, the 2014 sorcerer is great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's so powerful. It's one of the best classes in the game. I don't think it hits the top 3 best classes, but it's definitely not in the bottom half. It is definitely in the top half overall, in the top 6. Um, I would say high in the top 6, but I think it does lack a lot of versatility outside of meta magic. So your versatility is purely dependent on how well you can manage your sorcery points. Um, but other than that, they're so good. They're so strong. They can blow anything up. They're great as faces because they're going to get a lot of magic to supplement, like charming people. They can, help them get disadvantage on those saving throws. They can do it subtly so people can't see them doing it. So overall, I think I think 2014 is great. I like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I would play it.
I had many an idea for characters with 2014 builds. A lot of that came with the ability to one level dip for a lot of stuff that was available in 2014, which is not so much available in the 2024 rules. But speaking of that, we are heading over to the future,
Yeah,
which
what do
is
we start
which is the
with?
present.
Yeah, the present. What do we start with 2024?
Yeah, so if you're following along in the new Player's Handbook, it is starting on page 139. Starting equipment, you can pick from, I thought it was just simple weapons, but you can pick a spear, 2 daggers, an arcane focus, Dungeoneer's packs, and 28 gold. All right.
Yeah.
Or 50 gold piece and just buy whatever you need. Maybe because you're still can't have armor. You still, all these things. Get an arcane focus, get a pack, and pick up. You know what?
Take the
I would buy a
gold.
light. I'd buy a light crossbow if you're going to go use like True Strike or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, save the gold for a rainy day.
Take the gold. I have no idea what the spear was. I don't know why that's the choice that they gave.
Yeah.
It is so confusing to me because that at the beginning I said I'd never seen I'd never seen a sorcerer use a crossbow, right? But now we have a spear, and that's something that I can honestly say I've never seen, nor do I think I ever will see. I don't understand why it wasn't just a quarterstaff if you're trying to go for that staff look.
Yeah.
Kind
Kind
of
of.
take the gold. That's one of the worst starting equipment selections I feel like I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's
Honestly,
pretty bad. Pretty bad. Um, but in 2024, at level 1, 2014 you got your subclass kind of right at the start, but with 2024 you get a fancy little flair called innate sorcery. And as a bonus action, you can unleash that magic that's inside you for 1 minute, and during this 1 minute time frame, you gain the following benefits, which is already this is busted. I already feel like it's a really strong ability to have at first level. Your spell save DC of your sorcerer spells increases by 1. And you also have advantage on the attack rolls of sorcerer spells you cast. So that's just automatic, spell. It's just great. That's just great. This is a great feature.
so ridiculous.
Just so
This I feel
I don't know.
like
I don't even know.
we often talk about how 1 level dips are worthless in 2024, but this is worth a 1 level dip.
Yeah, but they do categorize it as your sorcerer spells though, which does, you can't take my paladin can't just take that 1 level dip
You're
and
right.
then get my advantage on my, I don't even know that, I don't think that would work with smites, but
No.
anything else. So it has to
You're
be your
right.
sorcerer spells. So that's how
They
they rein
got
it in a little
us.
bit.
They got
Yeah, that's how they
us.
rein it in. So your sorcerer spells.
Still not
So
worth it then. Wow.
yeah, great for sorcerers though.
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I'm wondering if there are any smites that a sort. Okay, so we could still use this if you're like a paladin and you're using things like Green Flame Blade and Booming Blade, because those are on the sorcerer list, and you are gonna get 4 cantrips right off the bat.
Hmm.
So I mean that would on smite. I would have to look at the specific wording. Because if the wording is when you hit with a weapon, you could still use it even with Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade. But if it says with with the attack action, then it is not.
Yeah, I do think there is. I'll look it up on the old Killian
Yeah.
sheet here. But you can use this feature twice,
Mm-hmm.
and then you need to take a long rest to get them back. So
I
great,
just want to
especially
say
at
though,
low
how many
levels.
times are we doing more than 2 combats before a long rest? Very rarely.
Right.
You're almost
Exactly.
always going to be able to use this.
So for the smite for the casting,
Mm-hmm.
this also takes a bonus action, this ability, and so does the paladin smite. So you can't use them on the same turn,
Well, not
anyways.
on the same
Uh,
turn, but
yeah, but so it's a divine smite. It's one bonus action which you take immediately after hitting a target with a melee weapon or an unarmed strike.
oh yeah, so it would work. You could use this with Green Flame Blade and that because it says you brandish a weapon using the spells casting and make a melee attack with it.
Yeah, so like for
Combos.
yeah,
Great, hack
a
the
little bit of a
planet.
combo there.
I mean, it's a janky combo, but paladins and sorcerers are both charisma, so hey, go for it.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
maybe not worth getting until after level 5. Um, well,
Yeah, always go to
actually,
level 5.
Actually, I want to say, I don't think this is worth it in the long run because
No, I
Green
wouldn't
Flame
do it.
Blade takes away your 2 attacks and just makes it 1.
Yeah, yeah. And
Not worth
at
it.
level 5, Paladin's got that juicy aura of protection coming up at level 6, which
Ooh.
you if you're gonna dip, you dip after level 6
Yeah.
after Paladin.
So does it work? Yes. Do we recommend it? Probably not. If you want to be super like, what's the word I'm looking for? If you want to be, I would almost feel like this is something that you dip 2 levels into Paladin versus dipping 1 level into Sorcerer
Yeah.
to get smites, I think. Because once you
And
have
even
the smites, you can
still,
use all spell slots to use them, so
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I
But
don't
then
know.
you got to be melee as a
Yeah,
sorcerer.
I mean, not if you use a whip.
Hey, who does that? And
I've
then you
done
guys
it.
have,
I did a.
and then you need dexterity
Well, no, if you
probably.
use a whip, you can't use Green Flame Blade or Booming Blade because it has to be within 5 feet. So
There
yeah,
you
you're
go.
gonna. This is where we talked earlier about Dragon Sorcerer with the bonus AC and all those high Constitution. This is where if you're wanting to be a frontliner, go for it. Try it out. Is it super
Yeah.
great? No, but it's gonna be gimmicky, and I think the party that you're with is going to crack up the first time you do it.
And you can't use a shield either.
No. Um, but you could meta magic your smites.
Can you?
It's a spell.
I guess so. What would I do for it though?
I don't
What
know.
would
We'll have to look at that when we get up there. But at
All
level
right.
2, we're getting Font of Magic, which remains mostly unchanged. You can still tap into that Well of Magic, which allows you to change spells. You also are going to be able to take those points and turn them, your sorcery points, turn them into spell slots, and vice versa. With that, there is a lovely little chart that shows you how that works. So a first level spell slot costs 2 sorcery points. Second level costs 3. A third level spell slot costs 5 sorcery points. Fourth level costs 6. And a fifth level costs a whopping 7 sorcery points. You cannot go past 5th level, though, for your spell slots that you are changing out. I wonder how that works though. If you want to take a ninth level spell slot and turn it into sorcery points, I don't. Maybe you just can't. I don't know.
You probably can't. Well, you only get like one, anyways, right? Like
Yeah,
ninth level.
yeah,
So
but like, I wonder if you could just recover like a 5 and a
I,
4. So I don't know. It sounds janky,
truth
but
be told, if like when do you even get ninth level spells at like 17 or
yeah,
18? Like
it's 17.
if you if you really want to burn to get all of your sword, I would be
I
like
would
as a
let it.
DM like all right, get all of them back
Yeah.
because you could have cast wish or something like
I wish for my meta magic back.
there you go. That would be the use of it for that. Um
With that though, we are going to be getting that meta magic.
yeah.
Our first one, just like previously, we're going to be getting Careful Spell. And I like the way that they have listed these now, where they have the cost not in the like long description, so you don't have to search for it. This is going to cost 1 sorcery point, and with this, you can cast a spell that forces another creature to make a saving throw. You can protect some of those creatures from the spell's full force. To do so, you spend 1 sorcery point and choose a number of creatures equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1. A chosen creature automatically succeeds on a saving throw against the spell, and it takes no damage if it would normally take half on a successful save. That is the change that we needed. Now I
Yeah,
don't have
that
to
is
feel bad about still giving my paladin, 12 fire damage from a fireball.
yeah, and this is essentially the evocation wizard subclass that I think it's called like spell sculptor or
Yeah, I think
something
it's
like
like
that.
level 2 you get at, yeah.
Yeah, where you basically similar to this, you are able to cast that fireball and manipulate it so that your allies aren't hurt at all. They don't even have to
Mm-hmm.
make any saves, I think. Um, so that's kind of they still like for this one they still do have to. No, what's the point of even rolling? So they don't even have to
Mm-hmm.
roll. If they automatically succeed and then they take no damage, they don't have to roll on
Yeah,
anything.
they don't have to roll for this. It's you save, you take no damage. Congratulations.
Yeah.
After
So that's
that,
a
we. Oh, go
great
ahead.
one.
Yeah, it's
No,
so
it's just
good.
that's a great.
Next up, we have Distant Spell. Again, this is going to be 1 sorcery point, and when you cast a spell that has a range of at least 5 feet, you can spend 1 sorcery point to double the spell's range. Or when you cast a spell that has a range of touch, you can spend 1 sorcery point to make that a 30-foot range. Again, I love this one. This is one of my favorites. If you're doing janky Eldritch Blast stuff, I feel like we have to bring it up because it's just so good that you can just really get some crazy range if you're taking Spell Sniper. It's just ridiculous. Do it. It's funny. It's fun. Even if it's not the most effective, it's hilarious when someone is trying to run away and they're 600 feet away and you're still hitting them with things. It's like
Our
they're a
next
mile
one,
away. That doesn't matter.
yeah,
Firebolts.
just like magic stone,
Yeah.
toss it miles away.
Yeah.
Uh, empowered spell, just like last 2014 edition. When you roll damage for a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll a number of damage dice up to your charisma modifier, minimum of 1, and you must use the new roll. And just like before, you can use empowered spell even if you've used a different meta magic option during the casting of the spell.
Mm-hmm.
So same as 2014. Reroll those ones that you get on Fireball.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, how many D6 is it for level 3? Is it 6? No, is it 4 or 6 D6? I think it's 4.
For what? For Fireball?
Yeah, is it 6 or is it 4? It's one of
Well, I
those
mean, at
ones.
level
I think
3, you
it's
don't have Fireball because it's a 3rd level spell, but.
That's true. I was just thinking because, you can't re-roll all of them unless,
Oh,
you know,
it's
you
8d6.
Okay, so you can only re-roll like if you have maybe you have 4 or 3 probably maybe is your at this point. So you can only re-roll like 3 of those when you get the fireball at 5th level.
Mm-hmm.
So just keep in mind that when you do it, you can't re-roll all of them. It's just the maximum of your charisma modifier. And after empowered spell, we have extended spell. Once again, still not the best. But when you cast a spell that has a duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend a sorcery point to double its duration to a maximum of 24 hours. If the affected spell requires concentration, you have advantage on any saving throw you make to maintain that concentration. So that is a difference between 2014 and this one. So a good example I brought up before, suggestion. Suggestion is a concentration spell. So, if you're getting smacked around during that 8 hour period of time, you have advantage to maintain that concentration on whoever you made the suggestion to.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, next up we have Heightened Spell, which the cost got reduced by 1, so now it only costs 2 sorcery points. Hallelujah. And what it does is when you cast a spell that forces a creature to make a saving throw, you can spend 2 sorcery points to give one target of the spell disadvantage on the spell save throw. Again, I still don't think this is very great. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like if you are in a make or break, I have to charm this person or we all die, absolutely use it if you have it. But again, I feel like this is such a niche meta magic that in a pinch, I'm sure it will save your life, but I mean, where's the pinch?
Yeah, and I mean, when you only have 2 meta magic options to go with at this level, is that the one you're going to take?
No.
I don't know.
No, it's not. After that, we have Quicken Spell, which costs 2 sorcery points, and when you cast a spell that has a cast time of an action, you can spend 2 sorcery points to change the cast time to a bonus action for this casting. You cannot modify a spell in this way if you've already cast a first level spell on the current turn, nor can you cast a first level spell on this turn after modifying a spell this way. I love that they put that in there and clarified because that I feel like that has caused so many fights between players and DMs over being able to cast Fireball and then Quicken Spell another one as a bonus action without looking and reading the actual spellcasting rules.
Yeah, the whole only able to cast or use one spell slot per turn kind of rules that they added into or I would say clarification that they added into the game. Yeah, definitely a great addition there, just to clear things up.
Yeah.
Next on the list, we have Seeking Spell. Is that the one that was an optional one before? What were the optional ones?
Both of our optional Seeking Spell and Transmute are now just part of normal rules.
Yeah, so our Seeking Spell, this is a great pick if you had to make if you wanted a blaster type character. But if you make an attack roll for a spell and miss, you can spend 1 sorcery point to re-roll the D20, and you must use the new roll. You can use Seeking Spell even if you've used a different meta magic option during the casting of the spell. So great option for those chromatic orb users out there. Just redirect that orb right back at them, and fingers crossed you hit them. And then, of course, we have Subtle Spell. When you cast a spell, you can spend 1 sorcery point to cast it without any verbal, somatic, or material components. I think that's new. Except material components that are consumed by the spell or that have a specific cost. So you can't use this and bypass Revivify's 300 gold dust cost. So any spell that has a monetary value attached to it, you have to have the component with you. This doesn't bypass that. But I guess it bypasses the need for an arcane focus.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I would have to really, really get into the rules and figure out if that bypasses the focus. But I think if I had a player come to me and say it costs no materials at all, I would be like, yeah, absolutely no focus, nothing.
So I just have suggestion up on my screen, so I'm going to use that as an example. But you get stripped and thrown in prison, right? You don't have any of your stuff with you, but you are a sorcerer. The magic's in here. So you can use subtle spell without the material component that suggestion has because you don't have your arcane focus with you, but you can still cast this spell against the guard. So once again, another nice little niche spell here. And for those spells that do not have any kind of, they have a material component but they don't have a monetary material component,
Mm-hmm.
this spell can come in clutch. Like that's just the first example that came off the top of my head there.
Yeah, because like spellcasting in D&D, talk to your DMs about how exactly they're doing components, because generally if it doesn't have a spell cost that says is consumed by, just having a focus counts. It doesn't, that is the material component, is your spellcasting focus, as long as it doesn't consume something. Um, so make sure you talk to your DMs on how they're doing components.
Yeah.
Um, Most of them do not want to keep up with components, so they don't give a shit.
Yeah,
Some
I've
of them
I've
do
learned that
though.
the hard way. I learned that the hard way. I was like, because like you said, some spells, like components aren't consumed, but they do cost. They have a monetary cost to them. Perfect example is on Killian, Warding Bond
Mhm.
has a component to it. In the description, it is like a 50 gold piece worth of rings or something like that you give to the other person and you keep for yourself. Those aren't expended in the casting of the spell, but you do need to have that monetary value to use the spell. That's how I
Mhm.
am playing it just as a player. Um, so yeah, but
No,
some people
totally
might
agree.
not care.
But I mean, also, if you're playing a game and you need a sprig of mistletoe and you're like in the desert, well, that spell can't be cast now if you're doing pure.
You chose to use component pouch.
I mean, even a component pouch, I feel like you have to have the component in the pouch. It
I think
just
if you
means that
have a
you.
component pouch, you got them all in there or something like that. If you're going
So,
really hardcore, it's like you better do an inventory on your
the
component
main
pouch.
yeah the main thing that the components are good for is if you're playing in a game and your focus gets taken and you happen to come across a sprig of mistletoe, boom, I can use this to cast.
Well, I feel like just to talk about like Critical Role there for a second, like Liam's character in the second, the Mighty Nine, who was a wizard, he didn't use like spellbook for his stuff. He used the component pouch, and he would like utilize it in like really cool ways. Like I think for like message, he'd be like, I take out like a piece of the copper wire out of my pouch and I wrap it up, and then I talk through it or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there are cool, flavorful ways to utilize component pouches here.
Mm-hmm.
But let's carry on with these meta magics here.
Yeah, up next we have Transmute Spell, which costs 1 sorcery point. When you cast a spell that deals a type of damage from the following list, you can spend 1 sorcery point to change that damage type to one of the others listed. That's Acid, Cold, Fire, Lightning, Poison, and Thunder. Um, just like last time, I'm going to tell you, talk to your DM, see if you can add in Radiant or Necrotic, or even sometimes Force. I know if you're getting some of the more, like, powerful elements, you might even say, hey, can I trade fire and cold for radiant? Give a trade to your DM. Most DMs are willing to wheel and deal. Even if it's like, can I just have radiant and necrotic as the ones I can turn them into? Um, Go with your character. Most DMs are totally fine with it because you're already going around someone's resistances. Why does it matter if it's radiant or necrotic or force? Maybe I could see being one that they don't really allow, or psychic, but talk to them because throwing a big psychic ball and it blowing up and dealing a whole bunch of psychic damage is super fun.
Everyone gets headaches.
Yeah. The next one I want to talk about, though, is our last meta magic, and it is the biggest disappointment for me in all of the. I think, other than Ranger, this is the biggest disappointment in all of 2024 for me. And that's Twin Spell. They have gutted our baby. They've killed our probably the most picked meta magic in the game. And it's kind of the exact opposite of what it used to be. So when you cast a spell, such as Charm Person, that can be cast with a higher level spell slot to target an additional creature, you can spend one sorcery point to increase the spell's effective level by 1. So whereas before it used to be it couldn't be something that targets other people, now it has to be something that at a higher level targets someone different. Um, we spent a little bit of time before this started trying to come up with cool ways to use this. And I'm going to be honest with you, they were all bullshit. They all sucked because all of them at their lowest level, the old twin spell would have worked on. So this is a massive nerf. All of our Divine Soul Sorcerers who are curing 2 people with Cure Wounds at the same time. Hell, even our Divine Soul Sorcerers who were casting Revivify on 2 people at the same time. Not anymore.
Yeah,
Never again. No.
Or sorcerers that would cast haste on and twin spell haste.
Yes.
That's gone.
Gone.
Because haste does not have any upcasting to it at all. So there's no verbiage that says it can target additional creatures if it's upcast. So therefore, it cannot be twinned.
Mm-mm. I hate this so much. I will always talk to my DMs and use the old twin spells. Something I want to mention. When you're looking at the new player handbooks and everything, all of them, this and the old, are all still canon rules, right? They are all optional rules. Do not allow... I mean, it's a DM's table. Some of them are going to say you can only use one edition. But these can be mix and matched to an extent. They are built to be backwards compatible. I would just say, hey DM, I'm using 2014 Twin Spell.
Yeah, I'd use all the other 2024 meta magics because they're pretty much either the same or improved. But Twin Spell, they took a hammer to that thing.
So bad. And I don't think I know any DMs that wouldn't let you do that. I mean, hell, there's no reason not to. New Twin Spell is bad. Old Twin Spell wasn't broken. You know, was it strong? Yes. But was it game-changing? No. You know, being able to cast Cure Wounds on 2 people at the same time is not this busted idea. You know, revivifying 2 people at the same time, even, is not that broken.
Yep. I agree. So yeah, talk to your DM, just like any other problem at the table. Talk to your DM about what you see for your character and what you want to do for your character.
Yeah, I think the only useful thing I could think that you thought of that I would do with the new one is with Bless, is you can add an extra person to Bless at an earlier level.
Yeah. Hooray.
Oh no.
Oh wait, your party only has 3-4 people in it? Oh, you're good anyway.
What's the point? So getting away from that, level 3, we're just now getting our subclass now. So this is something that's caused a lot of heat in the community, is like warlocks and sorcerers specifically not getting a subclass until level 3. I think it's fine, even story-wise. A lot of people are like, but you can just change what you are. Your blood is who you are. And it's like, well, if it's your blood, you already know that, so you're going to play the character like, you know, a Draconic Soul Sorcerer anyway. It doesn't matter that you have the option to change, because, you know, most DMs, if you come to them and you're like, hey, I really hate my subclass, can I please change? They're going to let you do it anyway.
Yeah. And I'd also say, like, a fair number of campaigns probably will start at level 3. You know, like, yeah, there are that start from level 1 for sure. But, like, level 1 to level 3 is very quick. Like, what is, like, maybe a session or two? Like, maybe, like, 2 sessions possibly. 2 to 3 before you're at level 3 already. Nobody wants to be level 1 for more than 1 session. We'll put it that way.
I mean, level 1, 3 sessions is the maximum you should have level 1, realistically.
Yeah.
That gives you time to go do a first quest together and become level 2. But to me, if you're like looking for a story reason why your subclass isn't going to be what you thought, maybe your family lied about your lineage. You know, maybe they were like, oh yeah, we are descended of dragons, and then you find out, oh shit, no, we like mated with mind flayers, and I'm an aberrant mind. I mean, I don't know. Like, there are ways to get around it.
Absolutely. Like this is now it's like the potential of your magic is starting to unlock and now
Hmm.
you're starting to learn more about it, right? Could be the same thing with warlock patrons like, could be your family made a deal for your soul or something like that. And now like at level 3, your patron is actually like communicating with you. And now you know that it is Cthulhu underneath the ocean that is communing with you. But
Hmm.
now it's oh, you found out someone in your family got freaky with the dragon at some point.
Yeah, I think it adds even more story to it that you're now learning something different than what you were taught. And I
Hmm.
mean, I think the only analogy I can think to for this is when you have children, you can tell if they're going to be like an artistic child, because they are interested in artsy things. They like to draw, they like to, sing, they like to dance. And it's not until they start getting a bit older that they're going to start narrowing in on exactly what kind of art they are into. And I think that's the same with this is you have this broad magic that as you get stronger and as you develop your magic and as you work with it, you're going to start narrowing in on exactly what kind of magic style is compatible with how your brain is wired, how your blood works. Um, and I think that kind of is how this is now. Is we have this you are a magical being, here's your magic, and as you get stronger, you're going to start awakening your inner sorcerer and your actual inner power.
Hmm. Yeah, it just allows for more storytelling, allows
Mm-hmm.
for, all these things. Like I feel like some people were probably mad just because they're the power gamers and they just want that one level dip into cleric. They want that one level dip into hexblade warlock so they can make their OP paladin smiting warlock and all that kind of stuff. Where, you get a lot more out of the game when you have cool role play elements to it.
Yeah. So yeah, level 3, now we're getting subclasses. And just like before, we're not really going to be getting a whole lot after that. Level 4, we get ASI. Level 5, though, this is where we get to look back at 2014 and give the middle finger. Because we're getting Sorceress Restoration, which used to be the 20th level feature that we're getting at level 5 now. With this, the new version, when you finish a short rest, you can expend or you can regain expended sorcery points, but no more than a number equal to half your sorcerer level, rounded down. Once you use this feature, you can't do so until a long rest. So now instead of every short rest getting 4, you're going to be getting half of your sorcery level back. So
Rounded
much stronger.
down. So at this,
Yeah.
yeah. So at 5th level, you get 2.
Yes.
Wait, yeah, you get 2
Mm-hmm.
after a short rest. Yeah, such
So
a good feature.
yeah, so at level 8, you're gonna have the level 20 feature, which was 4, was it not?
Yeah, yeah.
So level 8, you're doing a level 20's job. Good for you.
6th level, we get our subclass feature there. But at 7th level, we get a fancy little ability or feature called Sorcery Incarnate.
Ooh.
Um, if you have no uses of innate sorcery left, you can use it if you spend 2 sorcery points when you take the bonus action to activate it. So if we remember, even with as you progress in level, um, the innate sorcery is still only twice per long rest. So as you get higher levels, DMs are gonna try and figure out ways to actually hurt your party because one combat ain't doing nothing to you guys at this point. So they're probably gonna throw a couple more in there. So higher likelihood that you can burn through 2 of those innate sorceries, and then a third one gets kind of thrown at you. So just for that combat there, burn 2 sorcery points to get that +1 to your spell save DCs and advantage on all your sorcery spells. Highly, highly worth it, I'd say. Um, and in addition, while your innate sorcery feature is active, you can use up to 2 of your metamagic options on each spell you cast.
I
Nice.
really hate the way that this one is worded.
Mhm.
because as it's worded is you can use up to 2 meta magic options on each spell you cast. It almost could sound like it's saying without spending points. Because you can just, with each spell, you
Oh,
can, you know what I mean? 2024 did not do very good, in my opinion, of wording things good. And something in
yeah.
2024 is it's all about the wording. And the reason I know that this isn't without spending sorcery points is because of a later feature that we'll get to. Um, but this was not done good. I don't like this wording. Do not think that it means you can do it without sorcery points. You still have to do sorcery points, but you get 2 now.
Yeah. Yeah. And still, though, if you still just use empowered, you still just you don't get like 3, right? Like you just get empowered
Yeah,
and then still
it does.
still something else.
Empowered doesn't count
Yeah,
towards your amount.
because technically you can't use like multiple. Well, I think how many meta magics do we have at this point now at level
At
7?
7th level, we have. Oh, 7. It
We
goes
s-
with the level.
No, that's not the meta magic options though.
No, the
Like that's
sorcery
sorcerer.
points.
Yeah,
Oh, you're
but how
talking.
many like meta magic options do we have
I think we
at this
just
level?
have the 2. And
Yeah.
if you took a feat, then you'll have 3.
Yeah, so let's say we have 3, just as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and while your innate sorcery feature is active, so it's for that 1 minute, you can choose up to 2 of your meta magic options with the associated cost to apply them to your spells that you're casting. So, it empowered spell really doesn't do anything. Like you can't you can only use 1 meta magic option per turn. So like as example, we have our 2 or we have our 3 options here. We got empowered,
Let's just say we
distant,
do.
careful.
Sure, I was gonna say, let's say we do like distant, subtle. That way people can't hear us doing it. It's far away. And then once it hits, we can then do empowered. Because it doesn't
Yeah.
count against the amount.
So
Is how I would rule it.
yeah, so just in its kind of form, like if I wanted to blow 3 sorcery points to use all of those, can I do that in one
Yeah!
spell attack?
Yeah!
Okay. So
I would say yes, because it's specifically worded that empowered doesn't, or that you can use it when you use another one. So
yeah, but
to
you wouldn't.
me, it doesn't count towards the amount. Is how I would personally rule it as a DM. I would totally allow empowered on top of 2 others. Talk to your
Okay.
DMs.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. Uh so I don't know. I don't know if in the 2014. Oh, let me see. I'm trying to read because in the 2014 it does say only 1 can be used on a spell.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2014 meta magic you can only use 1 meta magic option on a spell when you cast it, unless it's otherwise noted.
Mm-hmm.
So in its kind of base form, you can only pick between empowered or distant, as an example, if I only
Mm-hmm.
have those 2. But when I get this ability here, I can still only pick 1 option, but with the innate sorcery going on, I can now pick an additional one. I'm going to go like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I can pick 2 to apply to my 1 spell.
Yes.
So now I can only do distant and empowered, but I can do it on the same ability. So I can't do 3 at a time. Like I can't do distant and careful because I can only pick one of them.
So,
To,
well, no, you can do 2 meta magics on that same spell because it
yeah,
says
when I'm in this innate sorcery,
yes,
right?
yes.
But I couldn't do 3 of them, right? I
Not.
couldn't.
I think you could with empowered because it's like even if you've already used meta magic option during the casting of the spell. So even in its like description, it's stating that even if you've already done meta magic, you can still put this one on the spell.
Mm, you can use. Hmm. Okay. Okay.
I mean, that's how I would rule it. Again, 2024 did not do a good job of their wording. They did a very poor job with specifics that leave things like this, in the rules as written versus rules as intended.
Yeah.
So rules as intended, probably only 2, but rules as written, 3.
Let us know in the comments what you think.
Yeah, what do you think? It won't change my mind as a DM. You're still using all 3 if you want to, but
yeah.
Level 8 ASI or feat. Again, at this point, we're hitting level 9, getting bonus proficiency for the level spells. Level 10, we're getting an extra meta magic choice. And we're pretty much continuing this trend all the way up until level 14, where we get another subclass feature. And then again till level 17, where we're getting another meta magic. And that brings us to 19 with the epic boon. And then at level 20, we get our brand new shiny capstone ability, Arcane Apotheosis. When you, while your innate sorcery feature is active, you can use 1 meta magic option on each of your turns without spending a sorcery point on it. Lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I like this.
Just some free meta magic. At this point, you are a master of your craft. You know exactly what you're doing. You don't need to spend these points when you're whipping out magic all the time.
Yeah, so at level 20, if you're like a subtle spellcaster, if you're like a subterfuge person, you no longer have to use spell components.
You're just standing there. You're standing there silently as
crazy
magic
shit's
flies
happening everywhere.
It's like, you got to be careful of that guy. He's not even moving. It has all these monsters and gods are fighting at level 20. He's just standing there menacingly,
and things are blowing up. So overall, I think 2024 brought us a lot of really cool stuff. I would definitely think I would play 2024 over 2014. The biggest downfall, though, has got to be the poor wording in it that leaves things open to vast interpretation, and what they did to our beautiful twin spell.
Our precious twin spell. No.
It's unforgivable. Honestly, I would rather have them butchered Ranger worse than they did than do what they did to twin spell. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of saving Ranger, so just...
Yeah.
Out of the 2, which one do you like best?
Oh, definitely the 2024 one for sure. Like just all the little extra features, like the innate sorcery is a fantastic buff. Just like straight at level 1, just a fantastic buff for sorcerers down the line. Level 5, getting a couple extra sorcery points back when you just take a short rest. That's great. Same with the 7th level feature. All these things are just kind of letting the sorcerer use meta magic more, which is great. Letting your class use more of its kit more regularly is always good.
I agree. Overall, I think they did a great job. I think sorcery should always be on someone's radar when they're making a character if you want to be a spellcaster. I feel like it's something that wizards, if you're a numbers guy, wizards are for you, right? You are going to be doing it by the book. If you are really creative with your magic, or you want to become more creative with your magic, play a sorcerer, because it's going to make you think about these spells differently than just what the book says, because you're going to be altering them every time, or not every time you cast them, but often when you're casting them. So I definitely think if you are tired of playing by the rules, Sorcerer is where it's at.
I agree. Definitely a great class to play.
I think that's all we have to teach you about base Sorcerer right now. If you want to see sorcery in action, again on our stream, Dion Rising, Mondays 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central over on Twitch, you can find Eidos, whom is our resident sorcerer, doing all kinds of crazy meta magic bullshittery. Come hang out with us there. And I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Finished
Excellent.
off.
Well, until next time, may all of your intelligence checks be successful, and may all of your bullying your DMs into letting you play a constitution based sorcerer work. Bye.
See you later.